We just saw this AI watcher drop a really smart analysis of where AI foundation models are going. And interestingly, it's a take that's been publicly endorsed by Elon Musk on X. So this comes from Gavin Baker, who is the managing partner and CIO at Atreides Management, an investment firm. And he broke down how he sees the future of foundational models like ChatGPT slash GPT-4 and Grok playing out. So he says, quote, foundation models without significant RLHF reinforcement learning from human feedback and access to high quality proprietary data sets are likely the fastest depreciating assets in human history. By that, he seems to be saying that he thinks only four of the foundation models out there are likely to have lasting value and transition to becoming true AI agents over the next few years, both because they have mechanisms for RLHF already, and they have access to proprietary data. So the four models that he has identified as kind of the longevity leaders here are ChatGPT slash GPT-4, 5, et cetera, Google's upcoming Gemini model, Grok, and Meta's open source Llama. So for example, he's saying things like ChatGPT have access to Microsoft's proprietary data through their partnership, as well as proprietary data from within the enterprises they work with. Grok has access to all of X's data, and Gemini has access to all the proprietary data that Google has been collecting for decades now. Llama, by virtue of being open source, is included in this list because it can then be applied to basically any proprietary data set and tuned on that. So Baker actually makes the claim that if this assessment is correct, ChatGPT basically could go to zero if it didn't have access to Microsoft's data. So after Baker posted all this on X, Elon Musk himself weighed in saying it was, quote, extremely insightful analysis. So, Paul, there's a lot going on here, but basically sounds like he's saying only a handful of these big models out there have both the proprietary data and the mechanisms for human reinforcement feedback to actually create unique, defensible value in the marketplace. What's your read on what he's saying here?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall it's a really smart take. I don't know about the going to zero. Like I think there's going to be so much verticalization of these models and so many like specific industry applications and being able to tie them to internal proprietary data. And you're going to have big enterprises that maybe don't want to work with any of those four options to build their model. So they're not going to necessarily. So I don't know that it's not like those other companies don't exist, but I do agree that there's going to be a centralization into a few key models.
Hmm.
The one that I would throw in there that as of like last night at 7 o'clock. So Kai-Fu Lee, who wrote AI Superpowers that you and I are both big fans of, former president of Google China, and now runs a venture firm in Google. His firm announced 01.ai as what they said, proud to introduce the world's top open source model, YI-34B, as our first release, encouraging LMM projects that they say is more powerful than Llama.
Hmm.
So, the story isn't done yet. There are Baidu, there's other players, but I think his basic concept of the the companies that have access to the data likely have a massive advantage. Like obviously, Facebook slash Meta has tons of proprietary data. Tesla X Grok, like they're going to have all kinds of proprietary data. If he starts merging Tesla data, we didn't even get into Starlink. Am I saying the right thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, like their satellite data,
Hmm.
um, SpaceX, like everything. There's just you can't count Elon Musk out. Like there's just so many proprietary data sources he's going to have, and so much motivation. I do think Gemini to me is, has the opportunity to leapfrog like this fall. I think whatever Google is doing with Gemini, and whenever that does come out, I think it's going to be the most powerful model. It's going to have the most proprietary data. It's going to have all the learnings of DeepMind baked into it. Um, I could see Gemini sort of resetting the conversation
Hmm.
for a while, like until we see GPT-5 or whatever. I just feel like Google's going to come out with something that's going to take the lead. But yeah, I agree. I thought this analysis was just really interesting, and then that Chamath and Elon both replied to it, and I saw their replies, and um, I think it's something that's definitely a good thought process to go through.
So it seems like if he's even directionally correct here, that has pretty big implications for people using AI models and building AI solutions. Could you maybe unpack a few more of those implications for us?
Yeah, I don't know that it changes anything in the real near term though. Like if you're an enterprise or if you're a business, whether you're a marketer or CEO, whatever it is, I don't know that this analysis changes the decisions you're making over the next, 3 to 6 to 12 months.
Hmm.
I think it's a little bit longer term. It's going to take a while for this to play out as to whether or not this ends up being true. Um, but I think directionally it's going to be true in the mid to longer term. But I would have probably more. This is like your CIO and your leadership are going to start digging more into this concept. And when you start to make multi-year bets, 5 to 10 year plays, where you're trying to look out to the future, you're going to want to consider where do we think the market goes. But this is just one opinion, and I think to make those kinds of decisions where you're affecting the future of the company
Mm.
with who you're gonna build with and partner with, you're gonna take in a lot more perspectives than this one, tweet. But, I think again, it's directionally a really important perspective to consider as you're thinking about the long-term strategy for your organization.